Hello, everyone. Welcome to Loving Hard and Letting Go, a last 5 years promotional concert in collaboration with UCLA Sexperts. My name is Julia Ribas, and I am the Director of Diversity and Accessibility for Out of the Blue Theater Company. As a student theater group, we strive to promote inclusivity, diversity, and accessibility to the arts through community outreach, education, and equal opportunity. We are so grateful to be collaborating with UCLA Sexperts on this event in order to promote healthy relationships and communication. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a great lineup tonight, including an awesome presentation from Sexperts, as well as a few performances from the cast of our upcoming production of the last 5 years. So stay tuned for a sneak peek of our show at the end. I am so excited to introduce our first performer, Sibal, who will be singing I Can Do Better Than That.
My best friend had a little situation at the end of our senior year. And like a shot, she and Mitchell got married that summer. Carol Ann getting bigger every minute, thinking, what am I doing here? While Mitchell's out every night being a heavy metal drummer. They got a little cute house on a little cute street with a crucifix on the door. Mitchell got a job at a record store in the mall. Just the typical facts of a typical life in a town on the eastern shore. I thought about what I wanted. It wasn't like that at all. Made Carol Ann a cute baby sweater, thinking I can do better than that. In a year or so I moved to the city, thinking, what have I got to lose? Got a room, got a cat, and got 20 pounds thinner. Met a guy in a class I was taking with some very well-placed tattoos. He wouldn't leave me alone lest I went with him to dinner. And I guess he was cute, and I guess he was sweet, and I guess he was good in bed. I gave up my life for a better part of the year. So I'm starting to think that this maybe might work, and the second it entered my head, I needed to take some time off, focus on his career. He blew me off with a heartfelt letter. I thought I can do better than that. You don't have to get a haircut. You don't have to change your shoes. You don't have to like Duran Duran. Just love me. You don't have to put the seat down. You don't have to watch the news. You don't have to learn to tango. You don't have to eat prosciutto. You don't have to change a thing. Just stay with me. I want you and nothing but you. Miles and piles of you. Finally, I will have something worthwhile to think of each morning. You and nothing but you. No substitution will do. Nothing but fresh, undiluted, and pure. Top of the line. And totally mine. I don't need any lifetime commitments. I don't need to get hitched tonight. I don't want you to throw up all your walls and defenses. I don't mean to put on any pressure, but I know when a thing is right. and I spend every day reconfiguring my senses. When we get to my house, take a look at that town, take a look at how far I've gone, and I will never go back, never look back anymore. And it feels like my life is led right to your side and will keep me there from now on. Think about what you wanted, think about what could be. Think about how I love you, say you'll move in with me. Think of what's great about me and you. Think of the bullshit we've both been through. Think of what's past, because we can do better. We can do better. We can do better than that. We can do better than that. Thank you very much, everyone. And now it is my pleasure to introduce our next performer, my lovely co-star, Michael Hackett, who will be singing the Jamie song, Moving Too Fast. Woohoo!
Hello, everyone. Hold on. There we go. Hello. I hope everyone is having a lovely night. I'm Michael, and I'll be singing Moving Too Fast. Hit it. Did I just hear an alarm start ringing? Did I see sirens go flying past? Though I don't know what tomorrow's bringing, I've got a singular impression things are moving too fast. I'm gliding smooth as a figure skater. I'm riding hot as a rocket blast. I just expected it 10 years later. I've got a singular impression things are moving too fast. And you say, oh no, step on the brakes, do whatever it takes, but stop this train, slow, the light's turning red. But I say no, whatever I do, I'll barrel on through and I don't complain. No matter what I try, I'm flying full speed ahead. Oh, I'm never worried to walk the wire. I won't do anything just half-assed. But with the stakes getting somewhat higher, I've got a singular impression that things are moving too fast. I found a woman I love, and I found an agent who loves me. Things might get bumpy, but some people analyze every detail. Some people stall when they can't see the trail. Some people freeze out of fear that they'll fail. But I keep rolling on. Some people can't find success with their art. Some people never feel love in their heart. Some people can't tell the two things apart. But I keep rolling on. But maybe I can't follow through. But what else am I supposed to do? I dreamed of riding like the high and mighty. Now I'm the subject of a bidding war. I met my personal Aphrodite. I'm doing things I've never dreamed of before. We start to take the next step together. Found an apartment on 73rd. The Atlantic Monthly's printing my first chapter. $2,000 without rewriting one word. I left Columbia and I don't regret it. I wrote a book and Sonny made a Reddit. My heart's been stolen, my ego swollen. I just keep rolling along. Yeah, and I think, well, what else is in store? Got all this and more before 24. It's hard not to be sure I'm spinning out of control. Out of control. Oh, I'm feeling panicked and rushed and hurried. I'm feeling outmaneuvered and outclassed. But I'm so happy I can't get worried about this singular impression. I've got a singular impression. Things are moving too fast. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Amazing. I am so glad we got to see that today. I was grooving the entire time through both of those songs. So good. Thank you so much, Kay and Michael. That was amazing. Next up, we have a presentation by UCLA's Sexperts, a student organization that promotes sexual health, communication, consent, pleasure, body image, and general wellness on campus. I am so pumped for you all to hear this presentation by Chloe Winnett and Chloe Rosenstock.
Hey everybody, give me a sec to share my screen, but thank you so much for having us. We are so excited.
We are.
Okay.
So lovely to see these performances today.
All right, just making sure you guys can see that. Yes?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Hello everybody, my name is Chloe Winnett and I am the Curriculum Development Director of Sexperts.
And I'm Chloe Rosenstock. I am the co-director of Sexperts. And we're so excited to have you guys all today.
Jazzed. All right, so we're gonna talk a little bit about healthy relationships because, you know, this is such a complex show that depicts such a beautiful, flawed love, and that's very in line with what we do as Sexperts. So we were so happy when Out of the Blue reached out to us. And we're gonna talk to you about healthy relationships and touch a little bit on the show and how they coincide. So first definitions we want to get set up with, and we're going to be referring back to these throughout the presentation, is concept of interdependence and codependence. So codependence you've probably heard of in the past, and it describes like the pinnacle unhealthy relationship in which both partners are really heavily dependent on each other, maybe even fully dependent on each other for their emotional needs, their validation, very much dependent on each other for their happiness. And an interdependent relationship is really the converse of that. So it's a healthy balance of, you know, loving your partner and craving their support, their validation, but also living your own life and feeling a sense of self, feeling a sense of purpose on your own. Codependence is obviously really toxic and sets the stage for just all kinds of manipulation and coercion, which are definitely red flags. I think that Kate and Michael are going to sing the next 10 minutes later in the evening, and that song has a line that strikes me as rather codependent. That's open to interpretation, but they both describe how their identity is so centered and focused on their partner, and I think that says a lot. Moving on.
Absolutely. So something else that is really pinnacle to a healthy relationship is setting boundaries and respecting them. So you're going to see this a lot throughout the show. We're going to try and provide minimal spoilers, but just keep these in mind when you do watch the last 5 years. But boundary setting is something really important in communication with a partner. And when you violate somebody's boundary, it is part of violating their consent. So we want to kind of sprinkle in the idea that cheating is a violation of the expectation of monogamy when you enter a relationship with someone and you choose to be monogamous, and that's the conversation. Maybe you get married, you decide to be exclusive. You're setting a boundary that y'all will be with one another. And, you know, it's okay to renegotiate that boundary. It's okay to say, hey, I'd actually prefer a polyamorous relationship. However, when you act outside of monogamy, when that boundary is already set, that is considered a violation of a boundary and therefore a violation of relationship consent. And you're going to see a little bit of this in the song Nobody Needs to Know when you actually watch the play. So we're not going to talk that much about it right now, but just keep that in mind. And some boundaries are legitimately non-negotiable. So if you are somebody who really needs their personal space, like you need time before bed at night to like be with yourself, journal, light a candle, whatever it is. You don't want somebody reading through your texts. Maybe it's privacy. You don't want somebody knowing how much you spend on your self-care. All of those are completely fine. And when a partner tries to, you know, breach those boundaries, tries to go beyond them, tries to say that they're not important, that's a violation of consent. Even though it's not the traditional way that we think about violating consent, we want to make sure that y'all know that boundaries are 100% a part of being in a consenting and healthy relationship.
Absolutely. Something else that's really key to this story is the concept of, you know, being your own person, maintaining a sense of self. And in unhealthy relationships, it's pretty common that, you know, that initial lack of self-esteem, what have you, combined with like a chronic lack of respect, emotional manipulation, leads to this stratification in the relationship. So, you know, one partner is the superior partner, one partner is the inferior partner, which is really damaging and, you know, of course, hurts your own personal mental health long term, but can definitely affect the strength of your relationship. And we see this with Kathy in the show. She engages in these acts of like self-flagellation almost. And these lines are both, you know, taken with context in the show. So when you watch it, you'll be able to draw your own conclusions, of course. But these two lines both stick out to me as just examples of Kathy kind of losing sight of who she is, what she wants, where she's going. And it's pretty sad to watch over the course of the show her relationship deteriorate her sense of self. So yeah, just something to keep in mind. And this is an aspect of unhealthy relationships that's not typically talked about, just because it does primarily have to do with the individual rather than partnership. But the partnership absolutely plays into the mental health, the emotional strength, the sense of self of the individual.
Absolutely. And it's complicated when a relationship isn't all bad, which you guys will see in the show. But another thing to think about is giving and taking. So who occupies space? And this can be physically, this can be in one another's minds. So something that my counterpart Chloe recognized is that in the show, primarily, Kathy sings about Jamie and Jamie sings about Jamie. And that's a really, really important dynamic to realize. We're not going to claim that the relationship's all bad because that's kind of what makes it complicated. But when you see somebody focusing primarily on someone else and then the other person focusing primarily on themselves, there is a clear power imbalance and a clear unequal give and take relationship. Jamie takes up so much space in Kathy's mind. And Kathy doesn't take the same space in Jamie's, and Jamie takes most of the space in his own mind. Healthy relationships, on the other hand, make room for individual needs, celebrate individual successes, and validate individual emotions. So when somebody has a really successful moment, it's totally healthy to recognize that and be like, I'm so proud of you. But that has to happen on both sides. And one partner should not be thinking solely about the other partner. Everybody deserves to be proud of themselves and to have moments where they are serving their own needs. And in a healthy relationship, there's room for that. So that's something important to note.
Definitely.
And I'm also going to go over this slide just because I'm a Jew and I know like the whole thing behind this. And this is a really interesting part of like Kathy and Jamie's relationship. So the Shiksa Goddess, this is a song. It's one of the better songs in the show, I'd say. I really loved it. When I heard it, it's a banger. But basically the song entails that Jamie is like super excited to date Kathy for the fact that she is not a Jew, like not like a typical Jew that he's dated in the past, rather than focusing on like her individuality, the qualities that she brings to the relationship, how excited he is to date this amazing whole person. He focuses on this one aspect of her that's very exciting to him and a little bit fetishizing to her, which creates kind of an unequal power dynamic. He puts her on this pedestal, but for something that she can't control. It's not like, oh, she's so talented, she's such a strong woman. It's like, thank God you're not a Jew. And this is kind of hard for somebody to live up to because he's imposing expectations without maybe respecting what his partner can bring to the relationship beyond a part of her identity. And so something that we noticed is that Jamie wants Kathy conditionally if she lives up to that expectation, if she is that kind of goddess figure, where Kathy wants Jamie exactly as he is. Just like, you heard Kay sing in the song, like, I'll take you however you are, no matter what you do. I just want to live with you. And Jamie doesn't treat Kathy in the same way.
Yeah, definitely. Kind of a darker side of all of this is really teasing apart what abuse can look like. So in the show, we've mentioned before that it's not just one party abusing the other. It's absolutely a give and take. It's flawed, it's complicated, it's both, it's neither. But some pieces of emotional abuse that we noted when we saw the show, one of them is definitely, narcissism. Jamie's definitely a very narcissistic person, and can use that to exert control over Kathy. And Kathy, in turn, exercises control over Jamie with this sense of keeping score, wherein she keeps track of how many times he's celebrated and how many times she's celebrated, and she uses that to leverage against him. And those are both insidious forms of abuse that probably typically aren't discussed very heavily. But in general, when support and love are given and withheld in order to exert control over your partner, that's a sign of a pretty unhealthy relationship, pretty imbalanced partnership. And as I said, it goes both ways. There's, in the show, we see it from Jamie and we see it from Kathy. Jamie talks about this room, this private room at the back of his heart, this sense of privacy, this sense of self that he feels Kathy abused and manipulated and, exerted control, pushed too hard. And those experiences for both partners are very valid and, point to, again, the flaws that this relationship unfortunately exhibits.
Yeah, so having said all of that, we really want to highlight the importance of ongoing and consistent communication because this can act as a remedy to a lot of the behaviors that we see happening in the relationship. It's okay for boundaries and expectations to change, and there's nothing wrong with that. If somebody wants to exit a monogamous relationship and wants to open it up, there's nothing inherently wrong with polyamory in any way, shape, or form. It's just a discussion that needs to be had. A lack of communication can lead to resentment, like we see directly after the wedding in A Miracle Would Happen. Jamie immediately is like, oh, damn, wish I could have sex with all you other women, and like resents the choice that he made and that promise. And communication could really have prevented that. And it can also lead to cross boundaries, and I will not go more into that until you guys see the show, and violations of trust. So prioritizing communication and transparency can allow partners to have these difficult conversations, to compromise and negotiate new boundaries and evaluate whether or not they feel respected and currently happy in their relationship. Mm-hmm. I think in the show, we see a lot of big blow-ups after a lot of really internalized feelings. We see like big fights. Rather than small discussions. And we really, really want to say fights are okay. That's a normal part of life. We're not saying not to fight. But you can mitigate those huge blowups by having consistent conversations and check-ins, being like, are you happy here? What do you need from me? What do I need from you?
Absolutely. And, part of that is what I'm going to talk about now, creating this environment that assumes positive intentions, that makes room for people's needs, people's wants. We see in the show, in many relationships, something called gaslighting, which is, again, probably something you've heard of, which is a communication manipulation tactic in which a partner makes their partner feel like they are losing their mind. They will counter any proposition, any idea with, that's not real, you're crazy, this isn't what you think it is, which creates such a deep sense of mistrust in a relationship. So the counter to gaslighting is something called green lighting. And in terms of trying to cultivate healthy relationships in your life, we suggest, trying to stick to this ideal of creating an environment that's radically accepting, profoundly compassionate, intrinsically trustful, just opening space for ongoing dialogues and communication about what you need, what you want, how you feel. And as Chloe said earlier, of course, fights are, part of human interaction, but if you consistently engage in healthy, respectful communication practices in a relationship, a lot of those problems, those fights can be mitigated. So thank you so much for having us. It's been a pleasure. I hope that you feel you've learned something, perhaps something that you can apply to your own life, your own relationships. We are so grateful to Out of the Blue for having us.
Yay.
And
we hope this gives you a little bit of like a toolbox to watch the show with, like enjoy the music, have a great time watching the storyline. Also keep these things in the back of your mind when watching. Thank you guys.
So much.
Oh my gosh, amazing. That was so, I honestly personally wish I had seen that presentation years and years ago. I think it would have saved me a lot of hardships. And that was awesome. Thank you, Chloe, for collaborating with us and for just this really enlightening presentation. I think this gives our show such an important context. So to everyone who's watching out there, all of our audience members, when our show premieres next week, again, just keep this in the back of your mind. We can just be reminded of the lessons that we learned here today. Thank you so much. Really, really, really important and relevant presentation. So now I want to bring our two performers back, Michael and Kay, to sing a duet. They're going to sing the next 10 minutes. And then afterwards, we're going to hear a few words from our director, Lauren Stevens. So take it away, you guys.
That one's John Lennon there. No, the Dakota. The San Remo is up a few blocks. If you've been inside the museum, we should go meet the dinosaurs. Kathy. Share your life with me for the next 10 minutes. In the next 10 minutes, we can handle that. We could watch the waves, we could watch the sky and just sit and wait as the time ticks by, and if we make it to then, could I ask you again for another 10? And if you in turn agree to the next 10 minutes, in the next 10 minutes, till the morning comes, and just holding you might compel me to ask you for more. There are so many lives I want to share. Never be complete until they do.
I am not always on time. Please don't expect that from me. I will be late, but if you can just wait, I will make it eventually. Not like it's in my control, not like I'm proud of the fact, but anything other than being exactly on time, I can do. I don't know why people run, I don't know why things fall through. I don't know how anybody survives in this life without someone like you. I could protect and preserve, I could say no and goodbye, but why, Jamie, why? I want to be your wife. I want to bear your child. I want to die knowing I had a long, full life in your arms that I can do. Forever with you.
Share your life with me.
Forever.
For the next 10
Forever.
and
Jamie.
summers till the world explodes, till there's no one left who has ever known us apart. There are so many dreams I need to see.
There are so many years I need to be with you.
Never be complete.
I will never be alive.
I will never change the world until
I do.
I do.
I do. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And after that performance, it's our pleasure to introduce, oh hey Julia, our wonderful director. Julia, go ahead, take it away.
I'm going to hop back in and just give a little introduction for Lauren Stevens, who is both the artistic director. Yes, just making sure. We have the executive director. She doesn't want to be seen, but the executive director is also here. Amy Lynn Williams of Out of the Blue Theater Company. I'm sorry, I'm a little flustered because that was just so beautiful. And I was just like, oh my gosh, Kay and Michael, amazing job. I am here to introduce none other than Lauren Stevens, the director of this amazing show. And I'm so excited to see it. Literally a week away. And we're this premieres. So get excited. Lauren's going to have a couple words for you all. And so, yeah, I'm going to hand it off to her. This is Lauren Stevens, director, also my roommate, coming to you now. Right now. There she
Hi! Hi, guys. My name is Lauren, and I'm the director of Last 5 Years. Thank you again so much to Sexperts for giving us such a wonderful presentation, and also to Kay and Michael for lending us their voices today. Make sure to check the description down below for the link to the Eventbrite, which is where you'll get all the tickets. Make sure to follow at outoftheblue.ucla on Instagram for any updates, and make sure to join us in a week for Last 5 Years on Saturday, March 20th at 7 p.m. Thank you again to everyone who came out tonight and for supporting Sexperts and Out of the Blue. And now, here's a sneak peek at the Last 5 Years.
Thanks
Bye.
for coming.
Thank you.
Next week.